Shut up and sit down.
Welcome back to another edition of the Chasing Issues program, where we discuss culture, politics, and current events with the editors and writers of the Chasing Issues web magazine. We're your host. I'm Greg.
And I'm Rob. I am the one who knocks.
How's it going tonight?
Awesome. It's one more day of pain, and then the fun is over.
Well, let's hope it's not too painful tomorrow, but we shall see. We shall see. So what we're talking about is the 2016 elections. This episode tonight's going to be for our predictions, and of course we're going to be talking about the Vagina Voters.
Nice, the Vagina Voters.
Sure, the ultimate single-issue voter. But first, let's discuss our predictions for the 2016 election. So looking at the early polls, it looks like, man, it's a toss-up depending on where you're looking online. Sometimes if you look, say, at the Gateway Pundit, it's showing that all the polls are wrong and Trump will win in a landslide. You know, Real Clear Politics has the following electoral map, and it basically shows that at this point, with this early voting, it shows Trump has 164 electoral votes and Hillary 203. Now, what he contends at what he being the Gateway Pundit republishing an article from Tom Franklin and American Lookout is that the pollsters on those states are wrong. And here's why. One, the pollsters are wrong in the percentage of white voters relative to their voting groups, to other voting groups. And then the pollsters are ignoring the increased Republican turnout this year as opposed to the one in 2012. I think that's going to be the biggest one right there. I wouldn't look so much towards what ethnicity a voter is. I would look at what the Republican turnout is, because so far from everything that I've read, Trump is blowing away any kind of lead that Romney had in 2012. Anyway, so number 3, pollsters are underestimating the number of Democrats voting for Trump, and those people are affectionately known as the Trumpocrats, and we welcome them under our tent. So what do you think? What have you seen?
You know what's so fun about this Donald Trump guy is that he blows the doors off of anything and everything. We've never seen a candidate that has been so right about everything than this guy, Donald Trump. We talked about before how he's got the Republicans and the Democrats covered with his insanity and the way he basically walks the gray lines between all of this stuff. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, I definitely agree. I think he does walk the gray lines. He definitely kind of bucks the traditional conservative stance on some issues and embraces some of the newer stances. And I think that's what's going to happen for the Republican Party to grow. I've said this before. I think they focus too much on social issues and morality these days. And if they're going to have more people join them under their tent for the political circus, then they're going to have to open up those doors and kind of shrug off those moral values. You know, like I've said many times in some of our conversations outside the podcast, I believe that they're going to have to quit making these moral stands. They're going to have more of a libertarian stance. They're going to have to just get back to the fundamentals, you know, the fiscal responsibility and working on the economy. And so with that being said, do you agree with that, Rob?
Yeah, and we've already discussed the fact that the gross domestic product of this country is not good enough to fulfill a lot of the promises that both of these candidates have claimed. So fixing the military, bringing back jobs, building a wall, a border wall, all that stuff's going to take a whole lot of effort from somebody if they want to do it. So I say my prediction is you're going to have 2 years to aggressively go after fixing the economy before you're going to start spending money on things. So that's, in my view, that's the reality of all this. What do you think?
Yeah, there again, I think that's going to be it. You know, one of the things that I've talked about in our previous podcast is that the Democrats over the last dozen or so years have been really good at choosing a specific focus for their energy, and that being, you know, Obamacare or many of the other programs that the current administration has gotten, and they'll focus intently on it, do everything they can to move the needle on that single issue before moving to the next one. Whereas the Republicans have always tried to just kind of do a shotgun approach. Just throw everything against the wall and see whatever sticks. They're looking for the movement of the needle, but they're wanting to do it by many pellets instead of just one single issue. And I think you're right in the fact that they're going to have to choose the economy to be that single issue focus and do everything they can to get that, to move the needle and to get traction, build the economy, get our GDP up, get people back to work, increase our manufacturing jobs. And then once they show that successful track record, then they can kind of push for some other single issue from that point on.
Now, here's one thing I want to bring up. I just went to Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
During our last podcast, I was in Las Vegas. I went to Trump Tower International. I don't know how many people have been there. I don't know how many people have tried to hang around Donald's successes. And I know we have that recording that I made, correct?
Yeah. Let me see if I can look at that for you real quick.
Okay, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because I went into the store. I've been into this hotel twice. Being around outside of the store, going inside, walking around Trump Tower, I'm telling you, all I see is successful, happy people. And it's not just white people, it's people of all races, all creeds. I've seen everybody over there, and everyone is happy. And I mean, it just looks like they're a success. So here I am in the store, looking at the Trump hats, looking at all the stuff. Here's what I also get. Trump has this massive amount of stuff that he sells. You name it, golf balls, clothing, wine. And I actually bought one of his bottles of wine, Trump wine. It's a red blend. So tomorrow, whether he wins or loses, I'm drinking that wine. You know what I'm saying?
Well, sure. And then supposedly, his vineyard and his bottle of wine has actually gotten some pretty good reviews. I'm going to say that every single time I go to buy something or look at things, everything is high quality. Everything. From the bar that's inside his hotel, the checking out, all the people outside, everyone just happy. I mean, if this is the mirror of what we can have for our country, just based on one of his things, I mean, I'm in. It's amazing to me. So if we have that one little interview that I made, we can go ahead and play that, and there we go.
In Las Vegas, and these two ladies want to tell me why they like Trump. Go ahead, you're on.
Because we want jobs, we want immigration, we want build our military up, and be at war for us, not other people's civil war. I like war, it makes money. I understand what he's saying. I just want somebody tough and strong that's going to be our president. I want a bully to be our president. I want somebody that their people are afraid of. That's what we need right now. Not somebody who's going to give away free education and line their pockets while our military die, and then say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think it was that important to get people over there and help them.
That's true.
That's true.
What about you?
Well,
you were looking at his hats over here.
Well, I just like everything about him. What he wants to do with immigration, with our military.
What about him being so mean?
He's not mean.
What is it then?
She's a disabled woman. I'm a disabled woman. We still want him. We understand what he's saying. He's trying to save the basic moral values that our country is founded on. Women are supposed to work at home. If we do go out, it is disrupting the natural balance of American society, what we originally based it on, right? Even the Bible, women are supposed to be a men's side, right? Not every woman wants to work.
Right.
Men don't even open the doors for you anymore. They're not even brought up that way anymore.
And Donald does that.
Well, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but he preaches
does.
those values for our country. He wants us to be strong. He wants us to have jobs.
Right.
He wants the borders to be closed. All you do.
Well, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Trump Tower. Running off.
So I was liking the optimism. I mean, look, you had him talking about jobs, founding fathers, work, talking about how women weren't exactly being treated the same as they're used to in the past. So from the 70s to the 90s to the 2000s, there was a sort of an etiquette going on. And then all of a sudden in the new millennium now, it sort of seems like it's not exactly like that. And, they're saying they want strength. They want protection. They want a bully. They want something, a wall. They want protection, right? I mean, that's what I got out of it.
Well, sure. And I would argue that most women would want that. And depending on the woman, it's going to be a different kind of strength. It may be emotional strength. It may be physical strength. It may be financial strength. It's going to be something different depending on each woman. So all of those things that matter to them are what they're going to be voting for. And I think they kind of see that within Donald.
And that leads us into that topic you mentioned at first. What'd you call that?
They're called vagina voters.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So basically, to explain to the audience what a vagina voter is, it is women that have declared themselves vagina voters because their goal is to vote in a woman as president. Now,
I just can't stand that. I can't stand the whole thing when we're putting people in office based on those little dumb things, black person. If you would have put Condoleezza Rice in a couple years ago, I would have been jumping up and down. But instead, you had to put in a community organizer, a Saul Alinsky fan, new senator, just taught law, practiced law, had an opinion, no real experience. I'd like to see some substance going in there.
Sure. And I would too. And I agree with you. I would have voted for Condoleezza Rice. However, the one thing, there are a lot of women that get out and vote. Depending on the polls that you quote and look at, there are some that would even argue that there are probably more of a stronger women presence voting in some of the elections than there are men. Even though it kind of looks like, depending on your personal conversations, at least in my opinion, you don't see a lot of women discussing things. Now, maybe they do it, when the men aren't around. I don't know how that split works, but they definitely have a presence in the polls. And for whatever reason, there's a lot of women that really cling to Trump and like his message, and then there's others that just absolutely despise Trump. And they have a number of complaints. And I tell you what really kind of set this movement off is not so much, I don't believe, that they want to vote a woman in, as so much as they don't want Trump to win because of his comments about grabbing them by their blank. And so I think that kind of nudged them to motivate them to get out, and that they changed their mind, or they may have never intended to vote Republican, but now they're definitely going to come out and vote for the woman in the race, and that'd be Hillary Clinton. So. And then, of course, after that movement started to build, there was a pro-Hillary piece written in Dame magazine, written by a person with the vagina who intends to vote for Clinton just strictly because she also has a vagina. As bad as that whole article puts the image in your mind with that sentence,
Hey,
what
they
else
made
do you
it
do
up,
with that
not
vagina?
We're just reporting on it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think there's bigger problems here than just vagina voting. There's got to be some other reason than just strictly voting for that reason right there.
And I didn't hear about any wiener voting, did you?
Nah.
That guy's in the limelight these days. There's no wiener voting.
Well, he's in hiding right now. He's in rehab, riding horses and trying to get straight with his sex addiction. Maybe it was because he had too many vagina voters for him. I think that kind of got him in trouble. But the author of that article is Kate Harding, and she's the vagina voter in question. And she basically goes on to discuss why it's not strictly just because her stance and because it is the vagina. It is, as she says, quote, she thinks Hillary would be a great president because she knows what it's like to menstruate, to be pregnant, and to give birth.
Oh.
So if you're going to pick your leader, based on the her biological functions, then, what else is she voting on? Imagine if a man came out and said, hey, I'm going to vote for Ted Cruz because, he knows what it's like to beat off. He knows the pain.
He knows
of being
what
kicked
it's
in the
like
balls.
to be a lawyer. Lawyers are great. We always put lawyers in. Let's put another lawyer in. Lawyers all around, right?
It's really
that's
frustrating.
Worked really well for us.
Right. Because they can write laws that nobody else can understand. They guarantee job security. Jesus.
And they pass out lots of laws and no one ever reads them.
Not until they're passed. We've got to pass this thing before we can read it.
And even then, just put it in the drawer and shut it. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, we're going to take money out of your pocket.
Like Donald says, believe me.
It's huge. Huge.
So let's talk about real quick what's going to happen tomorrow when one of them is going to win. And I'm assuming that somebody's going to win. Let's say Hillary wins. Donald's going to put up a fuss for as long as he can get away with it. Maybe like 1.5 days or whatever. unless it's just a total landslide, then he's just going to have to accept it. And if the other one goes that way, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe she's going to complain, not sure. But let's talk about what each one has to offer. We could just do this real quick based on what we think, what we see, what each one, like the pluses and the minuses.
Okay, well.
So if Trump wins, what are we going to get?
We're going to get the swamp drained is what he's, reportedly saying.
And what does that exactly mean?
Getting rid of the corruption within D.C. And
has he ever really said exactly what he means by that?
Well, no, but the thing is that a lot of people don't understand that Washington, D.C., up until it became our capital city, was a swamp. I mean, not a swamp as in Florida swamp where it's alligators and crocodiles or whatever it is they have down there, but it was really swampy and nasty. That's why if you look in the older photographs back when they used to have mud streets and horse-driven carriages, it was really bad. A lot of historians have written about it and talked about it, that when it rained, it got really, really uncontrollable within the D.C. area, and there were reports that a lot of the congressmen would show up with mud all over their clothes and stuff because it was just basically unused land. It was really horrible.
But he did talk about lobbying, didn't he? Didn't he say he's gonna look into that lobbying stuff and he's gonna cancel out the huge amount of pork that just makes no sense whatsoever? So that's going to have to be one thing that he does, because he's going to have to make money, like we said. So he's going to have to at least look at that big time, or he calls it big league, right? So he's going to have to look at that and start saying, no, we're not going to give $50 million to the, Save the Cockroach Fund or Drain the Swamp Fund or whatever they come up with. So that's one thing he's going to have to do, draining the swamp. He wants to put term limits on the senator, all the Congress and everything. We're all for that. I don't know a single person that says, wow, that's a bad idea. Everyone I talk to loves that. Term limits on all of them. 4 years, that's what people say.
Yeah, I agree. I think we definitely need to have some term limits. And, a lot of people, you'd really be surprised, a lot of people don't understand that there's not term limits currently. There are senators that have been in office for 50, 60 years. And, I think last time I checked that every single state had term limits, congressional bodies, but the United States federal government doesn't. And we definitely need that. There's always the old saying that if you're elected to Congress, then I'll bring back the pork. That's not the way that our founding fathers and the federal government was established to be. It wasn't to bring money back to the state. Because remember, everything goes upward. It doesn't come back downward. It's not meant to be that way.
And Hillary Clinton has never argued for that. She has never said, that's a good idea, I support that. Never said that. Obviously, it's because the more people are in there longer and they have themselves established, the more deals they're cutting, the larger sum of money that's going all around, obviously in a facetious way. I'm just going to say it. That's exactly what I believe and what most people believe is going on. Notice, too, when both of them are always talking, even when they're at some of their debates, when the Donald would blame her for certain things, talk about the corruption or whatever, all she did was look funny, didn't say a word, never rebutted any of it. She never said, no, I didn't do that. No, I didn't make money for my own gain. No, she never said a word, just let it go. I'm surprised people actually don't pick up on that, and they don't even bring it up. People don't talk about that. It's so obvious when she won't even protect herself. She's probably doing it because of, she doesn't want to incriminate herself and say something wrong because she's always under some kind of indictment, which she is right now. However, what's happened recently in the news they talked about with that?
Well, Director of the FBI, James Comey, came out yesterday and stated that they stand by their conclusion from July that they will not pursue any criminal charges against Hillary for her email server scandal.
Unbelievable. They made that decision in what, 3 days, 4 days?
Well, it was a total of 8, actually.
Oh, that's just incredible. I mean, we spent like 3 months to a year to 14 months, whatever that was, them investigating the last batch. Now, all of a sudden, and 8 days later, nope, we're not going to do anything. I mean, that's a huge red flag right there. This guy has got to be bought and paid for.
Well,
he has to be.
Not necessarily, because what a lot of people don't understand, including some of the generals that have come out on Twitter and online and given actually some of the statements in video on the news, is they can actually take, every time you send an email out, there's a certain alphanumeric code that's attached to it. That's how you can verify through WikiLeaks that what they have is real, because the alphanumeric code would change from if it was changed in any way, shape, or form, and they can bounce it off what's actually there and verify that it is valid. That's why no one, including Hillary Clinton's staff, has ever came out and said that it wasn't their email messages, nor was it not valid. They can bounce that off and verify that it is, like I said, unchanged and it is accurate. So the same thing can go along with the current emails that they had in their possession, and then the new ones, the 659,000 that they had on Anthony Weiner's laptop. And what they do is they can run those through a set of software, and they can automatically have the software remove any of the duplicates between what they already had and what was there. And then they can also do a removal of any that were not to or from Hillary. And they can also do a removal of anything that also didn't pertain to information based upon certain keywords or based upon the subject line. So if it did include, like, say, certain words like yoga or birthday or wedding, things that are not part of the state's documents, and then they could weed those out pretty quickly. So they could very, very quickly weed out any of those that are not relevant to the case, and then they could look at the ones that are there that are relevant, and there again they could use specific search terms based upon other keywords that they have removed from the first of the emails, and then they can narrow it down and search from that point on. So while it does sound pretty hairy that within 6 days they were able to comb through 659,000 emails, it's not really that difficult to come through it. Now, I still have the issue with the fact that had that been you or I with a security clearance and we were to remove any kind of official documentation that was classified above FOUO, and for those that are listening that not know what a FOUO, it's for official use only. But even then, every agency within the intelligence community has a different designation for how the FOUO is to be used. And some agencies also use what's known as SBU, which is sensitive but unclassified. And even then, sensitive but unclassified, maybe you could take it home, but it really should be SBU / FOUO, which means it's not necessarily classified that will get you into trouble, but it's really highly frowned upon. It's borderline. So anything above that really could get you into trouble. And depending on the level of the classification of the document, you could be fired. No questions asked, no intent needed, whether you did it intentionally or whether you did it on accident. You're still fired and sometimes criminally prosecuted. And that's the issue that I have. The fact that he came up there, he being James Comey, and got in front of the entire United States and said, we did not see that she had the intent to be negligent and to intentionally take home any of these documentations when she clearly established a personal server outside the reach of FOIA being the Freedom of Information Act, because since she removed herself from the federal government's email control system, any of that documentation, those emails that she had, if you or I were to file a FOIA, we couldn't access that information. And so she's circumventing federal regulation and federal law. But there again, he chooses not to prosecute her, and that's the key. The kind of strange thing for me is that he chooses not to. Why is that? Is it politically motivated? Is there some issue there? That's the key term for me.
Yeah, is he connected to this somehow? I mean, is there some deals being made? I mean, it seems like the whole thing is connected. And I say that if we were to make a prediction on this, Donald talked about putting her in jail or having a special prosecutor. I can imagine if he were to win, he may, in a sense, want to just sweep it all behind him, just move forward, not do anything about her. But I can also imagine that while he's looking into everything, while he's draining the swamp, her issues are always going to be popping up and getting in his way. He's probably going to, if he really wanted to, and if it was true, he'd probably find all kinds of leads back to the organization, the Clinton Foundation, all that, and it would just get so overwhelmingly complex that he may not have a choice but to get involved and take her out of the equation. She might be intertwined in all of this, and now the public is looking at actually making her the president with this stuff going on. If she were to win, I guess everything is just null and void. Donald goes away. He goes back to doing his thing, and everything is dropped, and she just gets away with everything continuously. Nothing's going to happen. I don't see how the Republican Congress, they say they're going to continue with this. What do you think about that? You think they would, or you think they just kind of it would just kind of go away in the distance?
Well, I think it'll kind of go away in the distance because one of the things that, while he's not been very articulate as to how he intends to drain the swamp or what that exactly means, for me, you've got a corrupt government when there is a special set of circumstances and punishments for those that are in that class versus you or I, the actual citizens. So one thing may be illegal for us and one thing may not necessarily be illegal or just overlooked for them. You've got corruption. Because the thing about the rule of law in any country such as ours that's founded on the rule of law, the laws and the punishments should be the same regardless of your social economic status. I don't care if you're a United States senator or you're the poor man on the street corner. The laws are the same and the punishments will be the same.
Well, so if we already know that the Donald wants to beef up the military, go after ISIS somehow. He wants to bring back jobs. He wants to start looking at the trade tariffs and all that kind of stuff. He's got a lot of stuff to do. He's got to roll his sleeves up. He's really got a lot of work to do, and he needs to grow the GDP of the country. We think that without growing the GDP, without getting money in here to do all this stuff, just to print more money, which is what they've been doing now, is not really the answer. On the other side, I think when we talk about what does Hillary have to offer the country, I think all we really have to say is status quo. We could look at what's been going on. We could briefly summarize what's going on with the status quo with the current administration and then talk about small things that we believe she's going to do different than the administration. So we could just go over the status quo right now. What's it been doing so far? How's it been this last almost 8 years now?
Well, I don't.
What have we got out of this?
We've got a slowly spiraling bankrupt healthcare plan that doesn't have.
But
we
know that was designed to get to single payer.
I think
we
so,
know
yeah.
that.
Yeah, but it's right on cue, and I think that nothing he has passed has. I mean, he's successful in the fact that he's gotten it passed, but I think everything that he has done in his 8 years is just like Obamacare. It's just enough to get everybody's appetite wet, but it's going to fail. So she's going to step in and hammer it home, get the single payer, and then move everything else further down the line.
So that means she's going to cancel out the job sector for medical insurance. It's going to cancel out every single one of those jobs, disappears, goes away. Anybody working in that sector, done. So distribution, all that stuff, oh man, that's going to be interesting how that's just going to disappear. I don't know how medical assistants are going to deal with this. I don't know what that's going to be like. Who knows how the doctors are going to be getting paid. It's basically like Medicare on steroids, right?
Oh, yeah. And it's going to all be nationalized, which means you're not going to be open on the free market. So if you're working at one hospital and you want to use your knowledge, skills, or your abilities to leverage a new wage at another hospital or another healthcare clinic, sorry, too bad. It's probably going to be some sort of general standard wage, no matter where you're at, based upon your location, whether it be one hospital or a competitor. It's all going to be just a scheduled wage. It's going to be nationalized. That's the way it is in federal government employment.
And what are they going to do with the VA hospitals? Are they going to turn themselves into the free health care so everyone could go in there?
Well, they're already moving to that.
Is the whole country going to be going to the VA now? Is that what's really we're going to see? And they're going to build 100, 1,000 more VA hospitals? Same thing, right? So is that what the whole country gets to experience? VA healthcare, and that's all there is. Wow.
Yeah, with 6 month and 8 month and 10-month wait lists. Come on.
And what will the military do? What about the hospitals that are on the bases? There's no need for those anymore. Everything is free and everything's out in town. Just tell the soldiers and airmen, Marines, sailors, go out in town, do your thing. We'll see you tomorrow or next week whenever you get help, right? Out of work.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds great.
Sounds fantastic. Sounds like a utopia to me. They don't talk about this either. I would really like to have a discussion with some senators and congressmen about this universal healthcare thing.
They don't talk about it, but you definitely look at other countries and see what they have going on. Go look at the United Kingdom and what kind of healthcare system that they look at. Here in the United States, the death rate, fatality rate, whatever you want to call it, for prostate cancer is like 5%. It's really extremely curable. Over there, it's like 60%. It's unreal.
But look at the difference in population.
They've got a lot less population than what we have.
Look how many people we have. How are we going to, and what do we got, 49% people taking money from the government?
47, 49,
So where's that tax money going to come from? I'm just baffled at this. This is amazing how this is
Well,
going to happen.
the reason why it's so high that the fatality rate is for prostate cancer is because it takes forever for them to actually get in. I mean, here in the United States, you get diagnosed and you could usually schedule within another week or two and get something moving and get traction and get treatment. Over there, it's a rationed healthcare system that came about after World War II because all of their male doctors and medical staff were returning from the war because they had to use those during the, like I said, World War II during fighting and stuff. So they had a limited staff, so they had to ration out their health care, but they never moved away from it because it's just so convenient. And so a lot of times when they talk about single payer here in the United States, they're looking at Canada and they're looking at the UK because those are single payer, both systems. And neither one of them, they both stink. Neither one of them are very good. People come from there to here to get health care. There's a reason being is because you got that money is a huge motivating factor. If there is a company that is constantly striving and innovating and trying to find some new medical procedure or some new medical device with technology, they're going to keep working and striving for it because they know they can make money with it. And that's where innovation comes from, is that ability to make money. Whereas if you've got a stagnant environment, like a rationed healthcare system, there's no innovation to move forward and find something new. And there's no money to do it if they wanted to even try and research it. And you could do that with anything that's nationalized. There's no incentive. You think the iPhone ever would have been invented by a socialist or communist government? Because the thing about the iPhone, it's one of those things where, like many of our technological advances, you don't know you need it until it's invented.
Yeah, and look what they did. We love paying $1,200 to $3,000 for laptop technology and everything they make. That's just a fantastic computer right there. I mean, genius. That's just brilliant. And that's all about the money right there.
Yeah,
what a perfect plan
you
that
and I
Steve Jobs had.
Roughly the same age, and you remember when PCs really started slowly creeping into the market, and what most of the responses were when they were trying, Steve Jobs and some of the other ones that were trying to get into the home PC market. The big pushback was like, why would anybody want a computer at home?
I know. Look what happened.
Yeah.
That was 94 when that stuff started to kick up, the PC big time.
But that's just it. There's a difference between a company that has money and can innovate and make products that you don't know you want or need until it's already made. And with the market system, the command market system of a socialist or a communist government, they only do things on need. So you will never get to those products where you don't know you need until it's already invented.
Man, talk about, not to get sidetracked, but the birth of the PC just makes me think of Duke Nukem, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, we had some really good sound clips from Duke Nukem, didn't we?
Duke Nukem was great. But, a lot of the things with Duke Nukem was a takeoff of the Evil Dead, or the Evil Dead with Ash, so.
Yeah, and then we had Wolfenstein, all that stuff coming in.
Sure. You know what? Speaking of the undead, you watched The Walking Dead?
Oh, what a fantastic show, man. That drama just never ceases to amaze me with zombies,
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting because, here we're talking about the command marketplace that only gives you per need and only as they dictate. And then you got Negan. And who's Negan? Who are you? I'm Negan. They're all Negan, and the great Negan provides as you need, right?
Oh, socialism right there, man.
That
Communism.
It is.
And after she wins, we're all going to be walking around like zombies. Our healthcare is going to be down. Be waiting for help. We're going to look like zombies, man.
And she's going to be walking around with her version of Lucille saying, "Who are you?"
Yeah, she's going to.
We're all going to have to say, "We're Hillary."
So to keep going on that status quo, I mean, what else this administration has done, what she's going to continue is, I'm sure, to print money. Her solution is to print money. She doesn't talk about lowering taxes. She doesn't talk about the free market. She talks about, she
looks like you're
so that means print
fucked.
Uh-oh. What was that?
Oh, that's a great Duke Nukem.
Oh, let me hear another one.
I'm going to kill you old style.
I've got balls of steel.
That was Wiener. That was Wiener talking.
But, that's exactly how I feel. If she gets elected, I feel like...
Looks like you're fucked.
Yeah. I mean, am I right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's how I feel about it. And I've been trying to be nice about it, but that's exactly how I feel. You know?
Yeah.
Just insanity.
Yeah. Well, and I'm hoping things turn out better tomorrow than what's projected, and she doesn't get in, like you said, she doesn't continue the status quo of what Obama's already been pushing through and putting out there. But who knows? You've got the vagina voters out there, and they're voting away, hoping that she can get in.
Single issue voters, yep.
That's it. I mean, right now as it stands, the big thing is the key battleground states. You've got Arizona, you've got Iowa, you've got Nevada, North Carolina, and Utah. You've got Minnesota that's always traditionally been Democratic, but he's been hammering away the last couple of days.
Well, if he follows suit with what he's been doing this whole time, he's going to shock us all. It's going to be like a shock and awe of Trump. It's like a war. And we all think that he's going to do this, he's going to do that, this isn't going to work, that's going to work. And he just busts through the status quo and he just takes it. It's like a poker game, and he seems to win every time. So this is going to be interesting. And to be truthful, I'm going to be worried whichever one wins. There's worries on both sides. With Hillary, I'm worried because I pretty much know what she's going to do. With Donald, I'm worried because I really don't know what he's going to do. I know what he says, but it's put up or shut up, show us your hand. And if he wins, that's exactly what we're going to have to expect.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
I agree. I think if she shows up and because she wins, then like the soundbite said, I think we're all fucked. But, I think if he wins, or at least I'm hopeful if he wins, he's going to show up in D.C. and
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of gum.
That's
yes.
I hope that's what we hope for. He gets there and he does what he says he's going to do. He's going to try and drain the swamp, and he's going to try and get the GDP going, kickstart our infrastructure again. I feel like right now our economy is kind of like that lawnmower that's set vacant all through the fall and through the winter months, and now it's time to get a few adjustments and get it kickstarted again. Pull that string over and over until it's running fine and purring. And with that, I think we're going to call it a night. I know this was a short one, but, it's just pre-election 2016, and we'll come back again tomorrow night as the polls are closing, and we'll kind of wrap it up from there. And with that, I think we're out of here. Thank you for joining us again for another Chasing Issues program podcast. Next podcast, we're going to be discussing Joe Biden and all the freebies that he, Hillary, and Obama, and all the other Democrats want to give out to everybody. With that,
With our money.
Yeah, that's right, with our money. With that, we're out of here. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to the Chasing Issues program on iTunes. I'm Greg.
And I'm Rob.
We're out of here.